Hello and welcome to our podcast, People Acting Like Lawyers and Mostly Malarkey, here on Listen Frederick. I am your co-host Meg, and with me is my co-host Dee, better known as Devin.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Now, Devin and I are both Maryland lawyers. Devin's an immigration attorney, and this podcast episode in no way constitutes legal advice, which can only be given by a licensed attorney in the context of a private and confidential legal consultation. Hence, we disclaim any and all liability for what our listeners may or may not do in their own lives based upon our dialogue on this podcast, which is strictly for entertainment purposes only. So today's episode is the role of a lawyer, and our subtopics may include client perceptions or expectations, what a lawyer's role does and does not consist of in a case, what areas of training a lawyer has, and the client's role in decision-making for their own case. So to kick off our first episode, we're starting with a toast of lavender gin spirits. So this is lavender gin distilled from Springfield Manor.
Cheers to George Washington.
Salud.
Happy 4th.
Yeah, so we got George on the wall behind me.
Ooh.
It's good stuff. Now, Dee, what do you believe the role of a lawyer should be in a case?
An attorney should be somebody's advocate. And what does being an advocate mean? The role of a lawyer is somebody that is there to help assist the client make the right decision and get to the best outcome in their case. Now, that role can be different depending on what types of law you practice. I do immigration law, so the way that I achieve that role is different than other attorneys. But mainly, your advocate, your partner, that you can trust.
So I like to give clients some information about the law, maybe some war stories that I've heard from other attorneys or from friends and family, and I like to give them their different options. So I'm focusing on estate planning, so I do simple wills, financial and durable power of attorney documents, advanced directives for healthcare, living wills, and I like to give clients an idea of, okay, what is your family situation? What are your main goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And if you're leaving someone out of your will, right, then we need to talk about that, and we need to make sure we write the will in a way that's going to minimize any potential estate contest or future litigation. So I like to talk people through their options, but at the end of the day, it's their decision. They have to give me my marching orders, because you have to be very careful as an attorney. You're not to take on the karma for your clients' decisions, right? I've had clients before say, tell me what to do, because they're stressed or they don't know what to do or they can't see the wood for the trees. And I say, I'm going to stop you right there. I cannot tell you what to do. I can give you the options. And if you want me to, I'll tell you what I think I would do if I were in your situation, but I'm not you.
And I get it. It's easy for us to say we're your advocate and your partner, and then the client needs to know, well, what does that mean? And I think how we can get to that is by telling folks what the role of an attorney is not. Because that is when you get a clear picture of what your lawyer should be doing for you.
Yeah, so your lawyer can't give you tax advice, and nor should they. You shouldn't ask them, you want to ask a licensed CPA. Your lawyer shouldn't be giving you financial planning advice, right? And we're also not therapists, so we charge more per hour and we don't have the requisite training. So if you have a really stressful case or really stressful life situation or both, really want to
have the therapist already. You want to have the therapist already. Yes, we are there to help you make the right decision, the right choice. In immigration law, a lot of folks come in and say, I need a green card. I need status. Yes, you do, and we have to talk about how they get there. And, a lot of times when I'm finished, they'll say, okay, how much does it cost? And I have to go back up and say, well, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? That you need to get certain things to me so I can give you the best possible outcome of getting a green card. And sometimes that's missed. Sometimes there are expectations that are unrealistic of your attorney. Listen, I'm going to pay you this money and you get it done for me. That's not how it works.
So how does it work?
Yeah, how it works. In my field, immigration is interactive. We have to work together. If a clear example is a client who is eligible to get a green card, let's say they're married to a U.S. citizen, everything will go smoothly. I've talked to them about the process. They get a DUI in the middle of the process, or they're charged with a felony in the middle of the process. That messes up the whole situation. And a lot of times when things pop up in people's lives and they bring it up to me, they then say, So how do you fix that? That you
We can work
messed
around
up
it.
the case that I was working on, and now it's different. So we have to talk about how it's different and what we can do. We're not Walmart. We don't just put a product on the shelf and you take it away. It's interactive. It takes two.
And ultimately, judges have to make decisions, and so there's a procedure that we have to go through to help our clients.
What
And we don't control that. We don't control the judge. We advocate our client's case to the judge. We certainly ask for what we want. Because if we don't ask for that, we won't get it. So we want to be optimistic and we want to pursue our clients' goals, certainly.
And in your field, what do clients think that you're supposed to do for them that is not within your scope of practice?
I mean, like I say, I've just had clients before when I was doing divorce and custody law. I think you have to be careful not to lean on your attorney too much for things that they're not trained in, because you're paying them more. So you're paying me more an hour to talk to me about what's bothering you emotionally, or how you're spending your money, or the tax implications of your business. Like, certainly I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not a licensed.
Absolutely.
I'm not a certified public
And
accountant. Is what I meant to say.
And people are in very stressful situations when they come to see attorneys.
We don't know the answer to everything.
We
right?
understand that. But we cannot tell you the future. We're not allowed to tell you the future, and I don't know the future as well. I know how a case is likely to go, but I can't tell you it's guaranteed to go that way. I'm sure you also have.
Yeah, so I might say like, we don't have a crystal ball, but like in golf, you tee it up so that we can have the best shot,
okay.
possible. Or you can look at it as, how when you're in a hotel, right? And if you're in the hallway in the hotel, you can see down the hallway, but you can't see around the corner. So things are gonna happen, and once we get around the corner, then we reassess and we do what we can for our clients, certainly. But so I charge a lot of flat fees. You charge a lot of flat fees.
I charge flat fees.
What do you charge
too.
hourly for?
I rarely charge hourly, and usually if I'm charging you hourly, that means that you're probably a difficult client, right? I like to do flat rate pricing. It's a lot easier to manage.
Even for the criminal defense?
Even in criminal defense,
Okay.
it's normal practice really in immigration and criminal defense. Maybe unless you're doing business immigration or a very specific type of case. But we do flat rates, and we estimate how much time a case should take. And a lot of times we get folks that are bringing up other situations that have nothing to do with their case. And that's another, sometimes that's frustrating because like you said, we're not filing your taxes for you. I understand they're intertwined with the immigration process, but that's why I refer a professional for you to speak to. So that make sure, because there's somebody needs to get a license to do your taxes. And I don't have that license.
So I will say that I looked it up, right? So the going rate, the hourly rate, in Frederick County, Maryland, which is where we are for attorneys, is about $250 an hour to $600 an hour, just depending on the complexity of the case, the type of case, and the experience of the attorney. I mean, it could be more than that, obviously, if it was like corporate law or something, but just to give people an idea of, so when we're charging flat fees, we're charging those flat fees based on how many hours, like on average, we think it's going to take. But I would say $250 to $350 an hour to start that's about the going
That's
rate.
about
like,
the range.
Where it starts.
And a lot of people say, and it is expensive. A lot of people say that's so expensive. Why are attorneys so expensive?
But at least there's no tax on it.
Yeah. Well, for now, we'll see. Anyway,
So if I were your client, Devin, and I called you and left you a message, like, what is a reasonable time frame that I should expect a call back? And if I expect you to call me back within 4 hours, is that unreasonable?
4 hours is, well, it depends on the situation. But let's assume that this is a regular case and you've called because you're trying to get your driver's license as a part of the immigration process. You got your work permit, you want to get your driver's license. If you call me repeatedly, I will talk to you and say, listen, that is not how we operate. We respond to calls between 24 and 48 hours. Expecting a callback right away when attorneys have, sometimes hundreds of clients, that's something you have to, that folks have to understand, is that you're not their only client, okay? Attorneys have many clients and they have to manage their time with those other clients. That's why we like to do appointments. We don't do walk-ins because we have to devote our time and manage it towards each client.
Right, because if you get spread too thin, then you won't be effective for anyone.
And I tell you this from experience. Yes, it's been when we are all speaking from experience. We've been there when we've taken on too many clients, and you talk about burnout. Attorneys, they burn out the most out of almost every profession. That is common. Drug use is common. Why? Because it comes down to we have to manage our times properly, and we learn from experience to do that. That's why you've got to set an appointment. You've got to tell me what you want to speak about in advance, because even though I'm really smart, I would say I'm one of the smartest, but I don't know everything, and maybe I have to go look something up. That's why I ask you to tell me what your question is, so I can be prepared for a conversation.
But I have found that some clients, or maybe not even clients, potential clients, or just people that right? Like friends, family, colleagues.
The friends and the family.
Maybe aren't lawyers.
That's another.
They'll ask you legal questions because, you passed the bar exam, so you must know the answer to this. But lawyers specialize.
Number one, there's two types of bars. There's a patent bar, so there's not even just one bar. There's a patent bar and there's the regular bar. Maybe there's another bar.
There's a multi-state bar.
And there's a bunch of bar exams to take, right? And when we choose to specialize in a field, we devote hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours to being. Are we allowed to say experts? I devote hundreds and hundreds of hours to be an expert in my field. Okay. Now, if you're going to ask me about divorce, I have devoted 2 hours to that my whole life, right? So maybe I'm not the best person to speak to about it, and I'll also maybe tell you should get back together. Okay. So make sure you know the attorney. Make sure you know what type of law the attorney practices specifically. You can't just ask them anything that has to do with the law.
So now it's time for our mid-episode shot. Shall we toast? Shall we do another toast?
Another toast. So
and
now,
what is this?
I brought in today, it's Sagamore Rye. It's a Maryland-based distillery. This is whiskey, small batch. One of my favorites. The Sagamore Pentry is a nice hotel in Baltimore too as well. It's at Fells Point. Cheers.
Salud.
That's yeah.
It's not bad though. The aftertaste is not.
It doesn't bite too much.
Yeah. Okay, so the subtopics that we haven't touched on yet, maybe the client's role in decision making for their case versus the attorney's role. So the attorney is gonna be more taking the lead when it comes to strategic decisions, right? Because we have to be pragmatic.
Well, Laura, what if I come to you and say, listen, I trust in you. I hired you for a reason. I hear you're the best, and you have to walk me through this case, and you need to make these decisions for me. I trust you to make the right decisions. I give you agency.
Well, I don't litigate anymore, right?
Yeah, whatever it is, right?
So, I always will tell clients, because I consider myself pretty down to earth, right? So I always will tell clients, this is what I would recommend and this is why, but here's your other options, and what do you think? And
if I tell you to pick for me, you have to pick. I can't make a decision. You have to pick. What would you do? Would you fire me as the client?
No, I would go through what the situation. So I would ask probably a series of questions and figure out the exact situation, and I would say, okay, this is what I would recommend and why, and then I would ask the client, do you agree? And if they do, then they do. But again, it's their.
And if I tell you, I agree, if you agree. Right? At some point, you're gonna have to say something, I guess.
Well, so a couple of the way that I work, a couple of the documents they pay part of the fee up front. And so a couple of the documents I'll send them via email that they can review, and so they have time to review it and sleep on it and decide okay, is this solid for me for what I'm going to need for the next 5 years or however long, because you should look at your estate planning documents ever so often and update them. But as far as I'll have a will signing meeting, and because I like the formality, I like to go through and have them review their will with me in person at the will signing meeting, and so then if they have questions at that time, they can ask questions, and then I also, they pay for their will at the will signing meeting, but I always tell people if there's something in here that you need tweaked because maybe I spelled somebody's name wrong, maybe there's a typo somehow, because sometimes we can be dyslexic. But if you find something within 30 days that, whether you changed your mind or whether it's because you don't like the way I worded it, whatever, let me know, and we'll go ahead and we'll get that edited. So like,
Why'd you pick 30 days? Is that from experience?
it just made sense to me.
Okay.
I mean,
And it's similar in immigration because we have to we have to fill out forms for clients, and we need addresses, we need names, and it is not uncommon that many immigrants in this country, their names have unique spellings. They're hard to spell. Okay.
Yeah, in some countries it's like the first name. It looks like it's a first name and then a middle name, but that's the first name. It's two first names.
And a lot of clients have 4 names. I've got a first and a last. A lot of people have 4 names total, and sometimes they think it's not a big deal that they misspelled their name. Why didn't we catch it? How am I supposed to catch it? How am I supposed to catch it? You know your name. I've gotten that before.
But I mean, you can go over it with them a couple times when you're.
And we do review. It's very important to review documents that attorneys give to you.
So do you ever have like criminal defense cases where you're trying to ask the client in a consultation questions to get to the bottom of what's happening, but the client's like, no, let me finish my story, right?
Oh man, yes, yeah. And I get it. You want to be, part of being able to trust your attorney is, you want to tell them what's on your mind, but we're looking for keywords, we're looking for relevant information that will allow us to give you the best advice, in the most efficient way. And sometimes telling us what you did the day before you got your DUI it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect it at all. Okay? There's a 1% chance it does affect what happened. So, if I'm trying to steer you in the right direction and say, hey, just tell me about this part. You should just tell me about that part.
Have you ever had to fire a client before because they were making the representation unreasonably difficult to where you couldn't represent them?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've had that
and
as well.
It goes, a lot of this goes to information gathering, where a client comes in for a consult, they've had the consult, they bring in documents, they sign up with us, we ask for additional documents, and we get this a lot. I already brought in everything. So that right there, whether you're working with me or any other attorney, it doesn't get anybody anywhere. It doesn't help your case. It doesn't help the attorney defend your case. It doesn't help you. So make sure you find out, so what do you need exactly? And you should always get your attorney as quickly as possible, even if you might have given it to them before. That's the most important thing, is that your attorney has the information that they want. That's how they can do their job.
Yeah, so provide documents and answer your lawyer's questions.
Yeah, even if it's the second time you answered it. Oh, God forbid.
Yeah,
But these are immigration specific, So I mean, maybe when you're dealing with clients, that's clearly a pet peeve of mine. Another pet peeve, I gotta say, sometimes we ask for, send me the document. I don't have it during the consult. They say, I got my case denied and I want to appeal it. Okay, well, what did the denial say? I don't know. I don't have it. Well, what am I supposed to tell you? How am I supposed to tell you we can win the appeal or not? And then they say, okay, I'll send it to you. Let's say it's a phone consult. I get a picture, and the picture's taken 20 feet away. Right? So the picture looks like a speck of dust.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So the circle of trust in the lawyer-client relationship is really important.
Very important.
So, if you get to the point where you don't trust your lawyer anymore, then it's time to move on. And it's like at-will employment, right? You can fire your lawyer at any time for any reason or no reason at all, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
This has been the Role of a Lawyer episode here on People Acting Like Lawyers and Mostly Malarkey. We thank you humbly for joining us, and we'll be bringing you more content soon. That's a wrap.